Okay, well, uh, Ted is continuing his spree of seven seven households to what have you, and he's working on checking her OCD boyfriend who doesn't take his medicines. This will probably be one of the easier and possibly uglier ones. He beats her horribly, and quite frankly, it's just I've seen it complete, but he has a bad case of it. It's not complete. He can't act, for lack of a better word. He can't monitor. He can't put up any kind of facade at all. It's just bam on the surface. And one minute might be fierce anger, the next minute is weeping uncontrollably. He's not that bad, but he's got a case of it. And so Ted is down there with who I decided to nickname Doctor Paint by Numbers from the Eagles lyric. This paint by numbers life is fucking with my head. Doesn't seem to bother him. Um, so let's see what happens. Uh, I hope they get tuned today. They might. I really fucking do because the doctor said I'd feel better on Monday, and I know that he knows a lot more about how the chemicals in my head, the pills I take affect me, and the Adderall normalization process and what have you. Um, how that progresses. He probably did some research. This is not typically done since um, one provider simply cannot do it because of FDA rules. You need to. Um, and but there's a body of research on it certainly, and being a doctor, you read 2, 3 paragraphs, he's got a good grasp of the whole thing. Um, but the anxiety is lifting. It was so paralyzing. The sedation was there, but the anxiety is lifting now, and becoming alive to the extent that, well, they, meaning the folks in 5109 who are probably next up today, kept me up all damn night. One of I believe it was one of Ted's lawyers, co-workers, whatever, was here last night. A woman who I told her a little bit about the occupant there and some misfortune earlier in her life. And she went to talk to her. She went inside, and when she came out, and not that woman who originally lived there, but her girlfriend, she's a lesbian, came out and started giving me crap again for quite some time. And finally, I said, "I know you just don't want me to sleep tonight." Paranoid, but possibly correct. And so then this woman that was with Ted comes back and tells her, "No, everybody has to sleep. You have to stop now." And so not thrilled about that, but the woman herself is black and they're black. So and one of the executions, I probably should get to appreciate knowing. Um, mm, I'll sleep on it. But it was frustrating because I've noticed uh, with the conflicts from the people around here, right, for no reason, that most of them for no reason. Some of them are just aggravated as hell by the whole situation and see me as a focal point. Those people understand. Um, no, I've had the 3 very worst weeks of it followed. There's one that was the worst night simply. There were flashing lights in the windows. They would record things I'd say and play back like the last 4 words and things like that. And At some point, they got me to really berate a kid who simply would not quit asking for ADD medicine because it's like candy. I just couldn't get rid of him. So finally, bam. And then they paraded around the neighborhood all crying and crap, saying that I had done it for no reason. And things got really bad for about maybe 9 months. And through 3 weeks of it, quite a number of people I knew that was black. And it was easily twice as bad, maybe 3 times. Um, and until a woman saw me come downstairs with the blinds open and she just happened to be walking by. I didn't know that that was black. Um, and so it is a valuable lesson about how, because most people aren't really racist. I say really racist because at best it's kind of a turtle that snaps its beak in your back of your head sometimes, right? We assume other people. There's an asshole I play golf with that tells that joke. Jesus Christ! But no, the fact is that he'd be all on board with pretty much anything you can think of, likely. Um, and but the rest of us don't know that. The rest of white people don't know that. It's becoming more apparent, I think, as time goes by. But I'm not positive about that. And the Klansmen always had that parade book in the clowns, and anyway, skipping over the social issue, which is too much to address. I had experiences with black people and white people where sometimes all the white people in the neighborhood are all the ones that bothered interacting with me were hostile. At these points, the black people would help. They'd be compassionate. They'd stop and I remember two black women stopped and I could smell it, the eggs. They were eating breakfast on my stoop and talked to me for a half hour, 45 minutes straight. I was having a hard time one day. And yeah, things like this. But when one of them said it on me, the others, they told me, we feel shame, we can't intercede. But then things started to change. I don't know if it was the climate of the neighborhood or what heads pulled off or what, but they banded together against me. And I realized that never once through all of this, nor at any point in my life, in person and possibly not to any great extent on television or in the news, have I heard a black person side against a black person in favor of a white person. And this last night reminded me of that. And here's this woman, and possibly I'm her client, right? And I'm not aware of it. And still, she is giving this woman over there um, instructions on how and when it's permissible to torture me. And obviously, that's not acceptable by anyone's standards, unless you just fucking hate white people. And even if you do fucking hate white people, you should say, well, on principle, it's wrong, but given how white people are, frankly. So, as my neighbor magically knows what I'm doing. Um, so, so this one, I haven't had any more noise than that. what did I do? I was listening to music. I played something from Stephen Colbert's monologue on Friday last night. I think it was last night. And then another song from Green Day. Of course, Green Day was politically charged, and they got upset at that. And so, um, no, I don't know how loud it was, but well, it was at 72, that's how loud it was. They came down and I heard some discussion, and I played two more songs and three more. So another one by Green Day, and it's a Seinfeld song. Something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you have the time of your life. It's written by Green Day. The title of the song is Good Riddance, incidentally. It must have worked out ahead of time, that's all I can think. Um, I'm pretty one of their albums, right? I'm pretty sure. Uh, yeah, it was on Nimrod, I think. Um, so now, yeah. I know you can't take me anywhere. It's terrible. I'm wondering what I could do to provoke a silence so I can comment on it. I have literally rolled down my window and yelled at work crews, Attica, Attica, kill Whitey. Um, didn't get much reaction at all. Um, anyway, no, I had a lot of fun there. So, um, hmm. I can get out my collection of off-color Italian hand gestures. It's only but most of my equipment's in storage. I hear the late 50 feeds are peaking. I know. Um, this is something that I still don't think I quite have it. I'm very close. I was over at my dad's. This is 8 years ago or so. He's watching a documentary on physics, and this guy's talking about. He's got this illustration, like whiteboard illustration in the background. He says if you have a generator running at 30 hertz, hooked up to a copper wire running to a turbine spinning at 30 hertz inside another generator, hooked up to a copper wire to a turbine all the way into space, right? He said if you speed up the first generator to 35 hertz, at what rate will the change propagate down the line? He said, now, Planck saw this problem, and he saw that the answer was the speed of light. And what's more, he saw that this was light and changed the subject. I thought, you don't know what that means. So I spent some time thinking about it. And so, yeah. Um, the electromagnetics that yanked the valence electrons off the copper in the generator. Um, First of all, you need to understand it's not the electrons that power the device. And, when you get yanked off a valence orbit, usually you have to absorb a photon, but the electromagnetics will do it for it. It's not like a vacuum, like when you lift water or oil up a pump, where it creates a hole and more oil has to follow. No, the electrons, they'll stay where they are. Some I think we're talking about electrostatic, electrostatic repulsion, electrostatic attraction. There we go. Okay. Then they start bumping into the valence electrons on the copper wire, on the quote high wire, right? And this causes them to bump out of orbit. And then they sink into orbit too around it. And it releases photons, which bump other electrons out of orbit. And the end product is the generator spins, the valence electrons are ripped off until they reach some sort of saturation point, where because of electrostatics, no more valence electrons may leave the copper. And they keep trying to, they buzz, and they emit photons as they do. And as a result, inside the insulation, so long as the high wire has the charge, because the alternating current is it's high low, high low. As long as the high wire has the charge, it's light. It's not a beam of light like you can aim. It just is. It's nothing but photons bouncing around inside it, and the thermal radiation from the photons are what power the device. But and then, well, what about electrons in a transistor? Well, it's unlikely that they actually move. Silicon as a semiconductor doesn't conduct electricity. It's germanium doped and potassium doped. So if there's an electric charge at the side, the gate, and there's an electric charge at the bottom, the way in, here's the at the top. This end is blocked from traffic because it's potassium doped. Germanium's at the top, which is a metal. So this will trickle up through the metal, heat this silicon, which will heat down here because of quantum mechanics. If you read about the ultraviolet catastrophe, and the potassium contains valence electrons, which will knock out of orbit and bump against each other and shoot up photons to the germanium, which will do the same. So it's really light, not the electrons. Electricity is how light travels through certain substances. I also say. So that's puns. Puns. They've got aphorisms. They have aphorisms. They have a bunch of aphorisms. Oh yeah, let's get the aphorisms. You see, and to be clear, I don't coin aphorisms to be an asshole. I coin them because coin them because I want to be with powerful others. There's this concept as a locus of control, right? There are powerful others, and it's not crazy at all. Some people think they're there, some people think they're not. They aren't. There are a lot of people believe they're powerful others. And I'm gonna be with the powerful others, and what do? Well, you know what they say. They coin aphorisms, obviously, right? Um, so I began coining aphorisms, and for example, you know what they say: trust lives on borrowed time. That's one of mine. Um, Here we go, aphorisms. You know what they say? There's lead-based paint on the door to the aftermarket for liverwurst. You know what they say? When I first saw Rebecca, I didn't know I'd even thought about fucking her in a good 5 years. You know what they say? It's a small thing having a big fucking cock and dirty fucking shitter. I used to think they would get OCD people. Like they have to stop on their way home to shit, jerk off and wet their ass or something. Apparently, it doesn't work like that. You know what they say? There's no such thing as a big coincidence. Two things coincide or they don't. You know what they say? If you're going to pay for companionship, pay by the hour. You know what they say? We'll never know if Steven Seagal went down to the river last Sunday with his cock and a picture of Bloody Marys to fire off a load. You know what they say? Watch your clever tongue, bitch. You know what they say, bridge freezes before roadway. You know what they say, if you can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball. You know what they say, in the jungle, your only friend is your knife. You know what they say, that George Baker's selection was a recommendation of the Alan Parsons Project. You know what they say, if you want to carry a hungry weasel in your pocket, that's your business. You know what they say, the bigger the waistline, the deeper the cunt. You know what they say, the Chinese are very sneaky people. You know what they say, you don't have to go to prison to exchange homosexual sex for protection. You know what they say, helping other people beats living life for its own reward. You know what they say, if you're sticking something in your ass in Appalachia, it's going to be dick or it's not going to be anything at all. You know what they say, youth is a virtue among whores. You know what they say, if you're married, what have you got besides looking good at work? You know what they, I got a ton of these, right? You know what they say, as a rule, compassion is hard to come by when you got a leather strap wrapped around your balls. Um, you know what they say, a black man wearing a leather beret is not necessarily militant. Um, you know what they say, you haven't seen fun until you've seen two cranked up roofers slap each other in the ass with their hot mops. That's a good one. Tempted to ruin almost 3 weeks of misery and progress and take two amphetamines. Like, take an anxiety pill instead. And so I'm due for one. It's been at least 8 hours. Oh, gosh. This getting off of Adderall program is, the way it works is this. I set a time for the morning pills and the evening pills. I take them at that time no matter what. Speaking of which, it's time for the morning pills. Um, 8 o'clock and 10 o'clock, and now it's 9:28. I haven't had them yet. And the coughing comes off the morning pills. So, 1 second. And then I take an Adderall every 7 hours. Uh, if I'm awake, I don't set an alarm to wake up for it. But even if it's a half hour after I take the evening pills, it's 7 hours I take it out. And naturally, you cut back that way. I have to have the sedating pill at night because there's the time where I would take an Adderall in an hour and a half, but the sedation put me to sleep. I guess I could work without that. It'd be much, much slower. The idea is this: when you abuse Adderall, you run out early and you lose your tolerance. So when you go back on it, you have insomnia and you have no tolerance to Adderall. So establish tolerance to Adderall. If you're awake, put Adderall in your body to establish tolerance to Adderall. Let's get that taken care of. And the rest of it is just getting over it, recovery from it. Also, because of the method by which the tolerance to Adderall is established, you cut down in the interval of 7 hours, which notice is only 14 hours, not 16. You eventually cut down to from as many as 4 a day to just 2 a day. Because you get so exhausted, you start sleeping 10, 12 hours every now and then as well. Um, but it's a miserable process. Even when you're high as a kite, there's this gummy feeling to it, and you just want nothing to do with it. The only thing that makes it bearable is that I'm high. Whereas usually Adderall abuse is a what? The whole experience is to get wrapped up in activities for long periods of time, stupid activities, wasted. Well, I used to program. But video games, things like that, and thinking you get more time out of the day when really you don't. You get 8 hours, you're just awake for 6. You get 8 hours, you're just awake for 24. Now, the you're desperate for sleep because there's a you keep popping it. You never decide. Okay, I'm gonna take 2 anxiety pills and the rest of the pills and go to bed. Because you don't get to do that. You got to take another fucking Adderall. So you're just desperate for sleep after like day 3, and it's nothing but misery from there on out. Like I said, it takes 2 practitioners. It takes one to prescribe the Adderall who has in documentation no knowledge of practitioner 2 who instructs the patients how to take the Adderall to get used to stop abusing it or to get a fresh start. Let's put it that way. Maybe a bit better because of experience. And my dad used to hold the damn things, and since he died, I've been desperate to. Well, one of 3 or 4 bottles. I've been desperate to take them as prescribed. I'm just unable to do so, simply human weakness. And then I understand, I find out, no, that's pretty much impossible. Um, you got to do it this way. Um, so, I give you a presumption. It's like saying I thought you got here on the H train. Jesus Christ, lady. The hearing shit. Whatever I call it. Okay, I guess that's it.